Thank you very much, Ahmed, for having us today. You really started this even, I think, earlier than us. And I believe that the crowd that has been following you are very savvy already on this topic. So today, my talk will be a little bit more on the technical side. So I hope that will benefit and add another layer of color to how this industry is working. So Avant, we imagine the future of fish. It is healthful, sustainable, and very importantly, scalable. And the question is, why always future tense? Why not present tense? And why not past tense even? So that's why we're here today. The cultivated meat market as we know it, going to be huge. We imagine a future whereby consumers, including myself and everyone here, have a lot of other choices than what we have now. And cultivated meat will be one of the very important segment of this because of the very unique proposition it offers, more traceable, more stable harvest, as well as the healthy benefit that it produces. So I think to follow up and continue with what Carrie mentioned, Asia consumer, we really love our seafood. 60% of the global produce is actually consumed here in Asia, and this is a very huge market. We like to work on fish because they are the animal there in the ocean, actually contributing also to the well-being of the whole planet. In a nutshell, for those of us aware of the technology, very brief, the technology we work on can work on different kind of meat type. We just chose to work on fish to begin with. Basically, it skips the animal in the process of making meat. So we feed the nutrient directly to the cells and then give them the right environment to live in. And then in a shorter time, we will yield the meat we want. So we start from the building blocks of life and we skip the middleman, basically. Use less resources and generate less waste. Let me introduce a little bit Avant, why I'm speaking with you here today. We are founded in 2018, December, me, myself, and Dr. Mary Chin, our Chief Scientific Officer. Our first laboratory is in Hong Kong Science Park. By the end of the 2019, we already launched our first prototype, which is fish maw, the delicacy that this part of the world really get excited about. By July last year, we already achieved our chemically defined serum-free medium. By that, we already achieved 90% cost reduction. And then we also completed our second prototype, which is a more internationally understood fish fillet and fish burger prototype. And we're also very grateful to be supported by a whole board of investors that we close our seed round. And we also have the benefit of getting investment from a strategic investor, which is VHC. They are the largest pangasius producer of the world. They are based in Vietnam. We also announced our third product, which is non-food product Ceylon. We believe there's a lot of very useful protein that we can source from fish, and we can source that without the animal. And that is for active use in skincare products. We also have a strategic collaboration with Quasel, a biologic company in the Greater Bay Area of China. So this map shows our active location with support from an investor collaborator, as well as presence in Hong Kong, Singapore. We're building now our laboratory and then also our pilot site. These are the products that we are launching in the next couple of years. And we start with something which is externally used. And then we started the food product that is fish maw and then fish fillet. So the question is, when are we getting there? We're talking about so much great things. So why are we not there yet? So we get there when we get there. So doesn't answer the question. So that's why we are here today, bringing cell-based seafood to market. And how can we do that? Accelerate that by strategic partnership. So from the concept to the product, from scientists to consumers, there are many steps. We start with research. We do proof of concept. We do product development. We do manufacturing before we can distribute commercially. Now, each step, if take 1 year, 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, average point 7.5 years. Question to everyone, what is the first year? What is the year that Professor Mark Post presented the burger? 2013. So calculate that roughly the right time that a lot of us actually working on the manufacturing. So that's why we are here today. So this part is particularly tricky because it is time consuming, capital intensive, and need a lot of planning ahead, etc. So among the 5 to 10 years, it could take up already 2 years, if not 3 years more, depending on where the company operate, whether there are ecosystem in infrastructure. So with the party and people that in this space, we talk about wondering, okay, how the model of CDMO contract development and manufacturing organization could help with the acceleration. This is the approach used very widely in pharmaceutical world. They started with the product and then that get it produced by CDMO, basically huge establishment with a lot of the infrastructure established, and then just help them to further develop the manufacturing process and then to produce the end product. The vaccines and the other antibodies that we have been producing, quite a lot of them are using this approach. So I'm going to break down why that is important and what happened now we are already serum-free, what's next. So the first cost reduction is through scientific discovery. So the removal of serum-free, the cell line and everything, though that comes from that. We drag the cost reduction from the moon down to Earth, that is the longest travel distance, is done all of a sudden 90% reduction as of yesterday. So, however, priority line is here. So there is a final mile. The final mile is actually quite far away. So you end up in the Atlantic Ocean. Now you have to go make your way to Asia, and then huge gap there still. Next, we still have quite a bit of other scientific discovery. Avant Meats, we build our IP portfolio around different cost reduction approaches. So we take a very multi-pronged approach. So we have a lot of tools to actually get us our cost reduction to much better kind of level. So still a little bit discovery there. Now, next is the engineering process. So this is more about the scale up from a small recipe to how to do it like a larger scale, a lot of churning out every day. And then before the economy of scale can kick in. So that will be really touching and getting even below the price parity as we're talking about today. So engineering is a process whereby we reiterate the process many, many times, collect a lot of data, do a lot of data regression, using the very powerful tool of AI to simulate different scenario, adapt that in a process, acting on it in real life, and then further optimize the process. We do the whole thing. A lot of troubleshooting before we reach a SOP, where it is a very robust protocol that we do it day in, day out, same amount of output, the same quality. So we're going to get there, but then we have to work harder. So now breaking it down into the development and manufacturing, how the different steps we're going to do in this collaboration. So we start with research grade medium. So there are two components, the basal medium, the glucose, minerals, amino acid, etc. We also need to replace the FBS, as we have already explained very well by Just Eat. We're using supplement protein to replace FBS. So they still will, starting with the research grade. Very high specification, high purity, expensive. Now the next, to do the cost reduction, we also need to swap everything into food grade, both the basal medium as well as the protein supplement. Once we get there, we will need to get our feeding regime figured out. So how often and what do I feed them, and also observe the growth of the cells in the container, and then how we can optimize the process. In this, we also expand the medium. We also look into the individual elements and the mixture altogether interact with the cell growth. So this is a lot of reiteration and also process there. Until the point we scale up further to our figuring out, very robust standard operating procedure, further expanding medium. From here, you see the scale starting from a couple of liter bioreactor to 100 to 200 liter bioreactor, to 1,000 to 3,000 each bioreactor, to a lot more larger than that. So along this line, there are a lot of time, there are a lot of money to throw in, not just the machine that you see in this picture, but also the infrastructure, the building and closing it, and the operating environment, the GMP and everything that need to maintain it. So how can we leapfrog? So we have frogs here. So how can we leapfrog now before we actually have the plant, the huge size, how we can actually get to the endpoint a lot earlier? So that is what these CDMO opportunity come into the picture. So CDMO, they are sophisticated, experienced biologic production company. They have a lot of formula already used in standard cell lines. A lot of them are actually generated by years of research. They have a lot of know-how. They also have a very worked out methodology to figure out what is the fastest way, rational way to screen through everything so that we can achieve the best formulation combination. So a lot of know-how as well that money cannot buy, and also the time. And then human resources, as we know, this space, the technology and also the skills is very important and also very, very expensive. So human resources, we procure a team from scratch, hiring will be 2-3 months to 4-5-6 months. So it also a lot of time to procure that and also money. Now think about the timeline that I mentioned, each step about 1 year to 2 years. If for the team recruitment already spent about, half year. So it will help if we have already a team up and running, working on the task, similar tasks that we can borrow and pick the bing from, as well as the equipment that I have already elaborated, the time and planning and procurement, and also the testing and commissioning before it can be up and running, time and money going into that. So CDMO check a lot of boxes. Now I'd like to share about the challenges. One of the biggest challenges is really the non-standard cell line. So for the people already in the in this space would know that the CHO cell and the very standard cell line, their behavior are well studied, well observed, a lot of data to work around. Non-standard cell line, people already ask it, is your cell line suspension? Is it adherent? Is it everything that can be very different from the CDMO has experience in. So this is the new uncharted area for every party, all of the bodies on board. And then the other is the operation. They usually set up in a very high specification, pharmaceutical grade, because they're producing vaccines that can be used in medical application, really very high specification environment. So that means that they are also very high maintenance in terms of the cost and operating. So that means that they can only take up financially viable. The margin of the product need to be very high. For information, biologic margin can be 50 to 60%, roughly around that range. And for food, we're looking at 10, 15, 20%. And another thing is that usually the setup is okay, quite decent size, but scale, we're talking about tons in order to cater for the demand the market is going to need us to turn to satisfy. So these are the area that is not matching that much. I would have to say in our collaboration, we're very fortunate to be working with our partners who are actually having a lot of flexibility around that. And we can actually jointly to develop something that we can accelerate our whole process to get to market earlier and catering the challenges that I've just mentioned. So that is the collaboration that I mentioned about the CDMO. The other, the VHC, which is a very important strategic partners. They are very experienced producer of fish products selling internationally to different clients. So with them, we can actually learn a lot about the product development and also commercialization part. So from the partnership with industry is also very important for the commercialization. In the case of VHC, they have a lot of a big site for the fish farm. So the product development has several steps like this, starting with idea, and then we do market research, and then we come up with a product, and then we specify that. And we go about to see the feasibility of the manufacturing, the cost and everything. And then we develop the whole process to actually start manufacturing it. And then we deliver prototype to our customers to see whether they like it or not. And then we also test it with consumers. With VHC, we borrow a lot of their experiences in the product specification as well as the process development. So they know a lot about what their major corporate, food producer, retail product producer will require in terms of the product, as well as how to better streamline the process to be more efficient. So this is the part. I think this is not a lot of detail in this part, but more on the commercial and the business side that we like to share. In the other side, we also look at, because for operation in the existing industry, they always look for new solution to make their business a lot easier and more options to, and also hedge the future risk, because we know that externality on the environment also affecting the profitability of their businesses, be it, salinity of the water can change the production, can also put a lot of stress on the pipeline. So what we offer also, that's a very win-win consideration, is that we also offer a operation model in the future. Let's say we just want to have more fish skins. We can actually produce just the fish skins without the bones and tails and everything. So in the long term, we see a very good collaboration and win-win and kind of a perspective in this case. So this is what I would like to share about the two partnerships we have, and happy to take questions.